a discoverer only in very rare cases. Almost everywhere he kept the local names. As an exception, on the map appeared Lake Russia, Lake Expedition, and Monomax Cap Mountain. Individuals knew about two other features that General Przhevalsky implemented in the course of his travels. This, above all, was strategic intelligence for the benefit of the Russian General Staff. But the second function was not known even to the Russian General Staff. Przhevalsky was a very trusted employee of Field Marshal Dmitry Milutin (1816–1912), who for 20 years (1861–1881) was Minister of War in Russia and one of the founders of Russian geopolitics. Throughout his life, Dmitry Milutin, the founder of the Russian School of Geopolitics, fought against the anti-Russian plans of the British Empire. During the American Civil War 1861–1865, two Russian squadrons were sent by Dmitry Milutin to America after the defeat of the Northerners at Manassas. For 3 years they were in New York City and San Francisco, protecting American shores from a possible armed intervention by the fleet of the British Empire on the side of the Southerners. This fact has led the analysts of the Round Table Group, created in 1891, to consider the Russian Empire as a force capable of preventing the return of the United States to the British Empire. Przhevalsky did everything so that his son could enter the religious school of Gori in the autumn of 1888. In the religious school, Djugasvili was considered one of the best students. He excelled by natural intelligence and a good memory. In June of 1894, at the end of his studies, he was awarded as the best student, and in September of 1894 he entered the Tbilisi Spiritual Seminary. And only then his mother revealed to Joseph the secret of his birth. Spoke about his father's death at Lake Icicle 6 years ago. The young man bravely took the news of the death of his famous father. The official father, Vissarion Djugasvili, died in 1890. His paternal roots gave him a lot: natural intelligence, a brilliant memory, a sense of purpose. The seminarians lived strictly according to schedule, and inspectors maintained strict discipline. While studying at the seminary, the young Stalin analyzed his early life experiences. He wasn't yet 16 years of age, but he began to publish his poems in the local newspaper. Since he was the son of a Russian general, he saw himself as a warrior of Russia, who should continue the work of the great and talented father, the work of his great ancestors. In Russia in the late 19th century, because of the development of industrial capitalism and the growth of the labor movement, Marxism became widespread. Created and led by Lenin, the League of Struggle for the Emancipation of the Working Class gave impetus to the development of a social democratic movement across the country. Waves of the labor movement also reached the Caucasus, where capitalism had already penetrated. In the last quarter of the 19th century, capitalism began to develop rapidly, especially in industries such as mining, extraction and processing of oil, where the key positions were captured by British capital. The fastest growing was oil-rich Baku, a major industrial and business center in the Caucasus. The development of industrial capitalism was accompanied by a growth of the labor movement. In the 1890s, in the Caucasus, revolutionary work was led by exiled Russian Marxists, who advocated Marxism. At the Tbilisi Spiritual Seminary there were many different secret circles. The 15-year-old Stalin, at the request of his father's relatives, who revealed to him the full story of his origin, became the revolutionary. Even then he knew that he would never be able to erase his past, even if he wanted to. But that's why he needed to learn certain adopted rules of the game in the revolutionary milieu. Making a career in the revolutionary movement was only possible through professional learning of the basics of the revolutionary movements in the world. He had to get exactly to the beat of the revolutionary ferment, feel its manifestations and to act in accordance with the analysis of the situation. Of course, Joseph Stalin, the youngest member of the ancient Prjevalsky clan, did not know much, but nearby there were experienced senior fellows from Russian military intelligence. He had to gradually enter into the leadership of the revolutionary movement and lead it, if necessary, in dealing with anti-Russian forces. At all the stages of his revolutionary movement, Joseph was guaranteed strong support from Russian military intelligence. From 1896 to 1897 Stalin already headed the seminary Marxist circles. In August of 1898 he was formally enrolled in the Tbilisi organization of the Russian Social Democratic Labour Party. Stalin worked hard on himself. In order to find his way in the revolutionary movement, it was necessary to thoroughly understand the intricacies of the theory of socialism. He carefully examined Das Kapital, the Communist Manifesto and other works by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, and acquainted himself with Lenin's works, which were against populism, legal Marxism and economism. Stalin's range of interests was extremely wide. He studied philosophy, political economy, history, science, and he read the classics of literature. Stalin became an educated Marxist. This was very important for advancement within the revolutionary movement. In the difficult moments of intellectual self-improvement, senior fellow scouts were always nearby. In this period Stalin intensely advocated in working groups, got involved in illegal workers' meetings, wrote leaflets and organized strikes. This was the first school of practical revolutionary work, traversed by Stalin among the proletarians of Tbilisi. Classes with Marxist workers' circles in Tbilisi were composed by Stalin's program. In the seminary, guesses began to appear about his secret revolutionary activities. On May 29, 1899, he was expelled from the seminary for Marxist propaganda. It was hard for Joseph to leave the seminary, but his struggle came first. It was a fair struggle, a sacred struggle with the historical enemies of Russia. Psychological support for Joseph was constantly provided by Russian military intelligence officers. Therefore, the revolutionary hardship did not become catastrophic for him. In the autumn of 1903, Stalin was deported for 3 years to eastern Siberia, to the village of Novaya Balagansk, the district of Irkutsk province. On November 27, 1903, Stalin arrived to the place of exile. In December he received a letter from representatives of Russian military intelligence, in which an escape plan was included. On January 5, 1904, he escaped from exile. In February of 1904 he was again in the Caucasus, first in Bakhmut and then in Tbilisi. In December of 1905 Stalin went as a delegate of the South Caucasus Bolsheviks to the first All-Russian Bolshevik Conference in Tampere, Finland. At the Tampere Conference, Stalin personally met Lenin for the first time. Before this meeting, members of Russian military intelligence provided Joseph with a psychoanalytical portrait of Lenin, made recommendations on the communication style with Lenin. Lessons from the senior colleagues were not in vain. Between Lenin and Stalin, good personal contact was immediately established. At this conference, Stalin was elected to the political commission of editing the resolutions of the conference, where he successfully worked with Lenin. Stalin was an active participant at the Fourth Party Congress Stockholm, April of 1906, during which he, together with Lenin, defended the Bolshevik line in the revolutionary movement. That was the strategy developed by the staff of Russian military intelligence. In the period from 1907 to 1912, Stalin met his father's mentor Dmitry Miliutin several times in an atmosphere of absolute secrecy. Stalin was learning the process of secret management technologies, impacting the psyche of the masses. It is under the direction of Miliutin that Stalin was able to become the director of information warfare, to learn the key principles of secret world politics. The meetings took place on the territory of Abkhazia, on Mount Athos or in its vicinity. It's not by chance that Stalin had several villas in Abkhazia. One of them, New Athos, was built for Joseph Stalin from 1946 to 1947 in place of a house of an abbot from New Athos Monastery. From 1902 to 1913 Stalin was arrested 7 times. He was exiled 6 times, but with the help of his father's friends escaped from exile 5